How's it going, everyone? It is playoff time, and we have quite a formidable opponent for us this Sunday in the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Dallas Cowboys have been a very good team this entire year, and they did just win the division because that NFC East division tends to beat up on each other. And with the Eagles losing in Week 18 and the Cowboys winning, they ended up winning the division. So some things about the Cowboys, and there's a lot of impressive stuff on paper. So the Cowboys, they did finish 12-5 for the season, first in the NFC East division, and have done amazing at home this season, or in the past 2 years. So they're 8-0 at home this season, and they actually haven't lost at home since week 1 of the 2022 season. So it's been a very long time since they've lost at home. So they've done a good job in that sense. They did rank first in scoring at 29.9 points per game, leading the NFL, and finished fifth in points allowed on defense with 18.5, with only the Baltimore Ravens, the Chiefs, the 49ers, and the Bills ahead of them. And when you look over at the turnover differential, they ended the season at a plus 10 turnover differential, with only 5 teams ahead of them being the Giants, which is very shocking. They actually led the NFL. The Ravens, Saints, Steelers, and Bengals. And PFF has them ranked as the 4th overall best team in the NFL, 4th in offense and 5th in defense. So a pretty good stacked team. Now, if we look a little deeper into the team, they are led by their quarterback in Dak Prescott, who is a Pro Bowler this year and was one of the MVP candidates, although I do feel like it's probably going to go to Lamar. He is still in the running for MVP. He did lead the NFL in passing touchdowns. This is the only player that actually had more touchdowns than Jordan Love. So Dak Prescott had 36 passing touchdowns this season and had a career high in completion percentage at 69.5 and threw for 4,516 yards and only had 9 interceptions. So he had a very good year with an ending quarterback rating of 105.9. Over on PFF, they do have him ranked as the 2nd best quarterback in the league with an offensive grade at 90.8 and a pass grade at 89.8. So even PFF has him ranked really high. Moving along to their rushing attack, they're led by Tony Pollard, who had 252 carries, which was good for 1,005 yards and at 4 yards per carry. He did have 6 touchdowns and 1 fumble for the season. And to PFF, they have him ranked at 76.6 for their offensive grade, which was good for 18th best running back. And for his run grade, 83.9, which was best for the 9th highest ranking running back. Now, on the receiving grade, 50.2, he's one of the lowest receiving running backs. So he's not too much of a threat in the receiving area. Now, on the receiving end, this is where it's going to be very important, and it's probably where Joe Barry is going to have to game plan around. So they're led by their wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, who's had an insane year this year. He's had 135 receptions on 181 targets. So Dak Prescott loves throwing to CeeDee Lamb. He had 1,749 yards and 12 touchdowns. And behind him was Jake Ferguson with 71 receptions off 102 targets, good for 761 yards and 5 touchdowns. And these were his main 2 targets. They do have Brandon Cooks on the other side of CeeDee Lamb, who was good for 54 receptions off 81 targets, 657 yards, and 8 touchdowns. But he loves to throw to CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. Those are his primary 2 targets, and he's pretty much force-fed them. And on PFF, CeeDee Lamb is ranked 3rd overall at wide receiver with the offensive grade of 91.1 and a receiving grade at 91.4, so still 3rd best receiver. And for Jake Ferguson, he is currently the 15th overall ranked tight end for PFF with an offensive grade at 71.9, a receiving grade at 73.4, which makes him the 8th best receiving tight end, and a run block grade of 60.3, which puts him at 19. So not the best, but he's not terrible considering it's at 79 eligible tight ends. So they have a very good number 1 receiver and a pretty good tight end. And I feel like those will be 2 of the keys to kind of focus on to try to take them out the game. Because like I said, Dak Prescott loves to throw to them. And if we could take them out and maybe Jair shadowing CeeDee Lamb and play very close physical press coverage, because yes, Jair Alexander hasn't done good this season, but he did good in the last game. Yes, it was against the Bears, but I feel like he's better when he's getting up in their face and playing tight coverage. And hopefully that shoulder injury is also healed, because that had to have hampered him in some capacity. So hopefully Jair Alexander is healthy, and B, he kind of follows CeeDee Lamb and plays tight coverage on him. So I feel like if he gets in CeeDee Lamb's face, he could potentially frustrate him, as we've seen in the past. Now, for the look into the trenches for the Dallas Cowboys. So on offense for their rushing attack, they're pretty much middle of the pack. They're currently ranked 16th and have had 4.1 yards per rush. By the way, the Packers are higher at 4.3. And have also only allowed 40 sacks, which was tied for best 12th in the league. The Packers are third currently and only allowed 30. Just to put that out there. And over on PFF, the Cowboys are currently ranked as the 14th best pass blocking offensive line and the 11th best run blocking offensive line. So not entirely top 10. They're a little bit in the middle, but they get the job done. Now, their best tackle or offensive lineman is their left tackle in Tyron Smith. He has had an insane year for them. So insane that out of 536 pass blocking snaps this season, he's only allowed 1 sack and 1 QB hit allowed. So that is an extremely good tackle, and we're going to have problems with him. So we'll see how the day progresses, but that is definitely their best offensive lineman. Now, over on the defensive side for the Cowboys, they are currently ranked in 18th for yards per carry, allowing 4.2. Shockingly, by the way, we're not too far behind them in allowing 4.4, with the worst team being the Broncos allowing 5 yards a carry. So shockingly, we're actually not all the way down there. But for the Cowboys, they are allowing 4.2 yards a carry, best for 18th. And the Cowboys had 46 total sacks for the season, which had them tied at 13th overall, which shockingly, the Packers were just 1 sack behind them for the season, and had 17 total interceptions for the season, which put them at 9th best. Now, according to PFF, they rate the Cowboys as the 8th best team against the run and 2nd in rushing the passer, and that's because of their big defensive player, Micah Parsons, that we all know. And Micah Parsons had a heck of a year for the Cowboys as well. So he did produce 14 sacks and 103 total pressures, which is the insane amount. He did lead the entire NFL in edge rushers in total pressures this year. 103 is just nuts. But he is not the only player on their defensive line, because they also have DeMarcus Lawrence, who also had a pretty good year. Yes, he only did produce 4 sacks for the season. But on PFF, so Micah Parsons had a 92.7 defensive grade, 68.1 run defense grade, and a 93.7 pass rush grade. While DeMarcus Lawrence had a 91.3 defensive grade, a 92.4 rush defense grade, and an 80.3 pass rush grade. So it's not all just Micah Parsons. And I feel like Micah Parsons being there with how much attention goes to him kind of does open things up for DeMarcus Lawrence. But of course, the key for the Packers on the offensive line is to stop Micah Parsons. We're going to have to eliminate him and just slow him down and hopefully take him away, because some teams have been able to do that. And when they did, they had a lot of success. So that would be the key to the game for our offensive line, is to take away Micah Parsons. But that's a lot easier said than done. But luckily, our offensive line has played very well down this stretch. And that's your slight preview of who the Cowboys are and what we're going up against. The Packers definitely have their work cut out for them, but we are one of the hottest teams going into the playoffs. Jordan Love, our stats are not indicative of where this team is at, considering how the beginning of the season started. So there is a good chance. Like, Matt LaFleur has had a lot of good games against the Cowboys. We have a good track record against the Cowboys in AT&T Stadium. So history is on our side. Yes, those were Aaron Rodgers' years, but Jordan Love is doing stuff that neither of his predecessors have done. So hopefully he can continue that trend. He continued the trend against the Bears and became the official inheritant owner of the Chicago Bears. And hopefully he can continue that with the Cowboys and dominate over there in AT&T Stadium, especially since it will be in a dome and we won't have to worry about weather. So his amazing accuracy that we've seen down the stretch, hopefully that continues and these receivers run rampant while also still feeding Aaron Jones a lot. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack Go.